Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Thursday, the 9th of January, 2020. And once again, we are chatting to controversially Greg about the news of the day. Now, the main news today and the main headline in the United Kingdom is concerning His Royal Highness, the Duke of Sussex, and his lady wife, the Duchess of Sussex, commonly known to the rest of us as Harry and Meghan. But before we approach that particular subject, I know that Greg wishes to speak about the issue we discussed yesterday, Iran/Iraq versus the United States and the West. And therefore, we thought we would go straight into that piece because we have some new news. So, Greg, are you on the other line?
I am indeed, and good evening all. It's 1842 in Britain, dark, and for a change, raining.
What's going on today?
We have a situation now, unfortunately, understandably, but unfortunately, Iran having taken a very measured stance to do all they could to avoid loss of life, but showing very clearly after their display of immense unity in probably the largest demonstration by the most people on a single issue in the history of the planet. With the funeral of Qasem Soleimani, they took a very measured response by firing some 22 to 24 rockets believed to have been Katyushas into American targets. And when I say American targets, targets in Iraq, which were extensively used by American military personnel. This was done at night, and it would seem to have been done to appease the wishes of the Iranian people for vengeance. And I say Iranian people, judging by the fact that many of America's Islamic allies attended the funeral in Tehran. One could say the Islamic world's demonstration against the presence of Americans in the Middle East. They launched the rockets at a time when it was unlikely that they would do any damage to personnel, and all but one rocket would seem to have reached its target, showing that Iran could penetrate American security and defense of situations and areas by Patriot missiles and the like. They conclusively proved this and avoided casualties.
Right, Greg, on that point, I mean, the rest of the world seems not necessarily to agree with you in as much that one could argue they started this whole thing in the first place, but certainly the response was nowhere near as violent as many have anticipated, and we've seen this reflected in the fact that the Dow Jones is up 180 points again today. The dollar index is up to 97.43, and both gold and silver are marginally down. Gold down about $5 over the last 24 hours and silver down 7 cents. But Greg, forgive me, I'm bored. You covered this yesterday. Today is today's news. What is today's news?
Today, I very nearly mentioned it yesterday, but I really didn't have any kind of provenance, nor had any other party made the point. An Ukrainian Boeing plane that was only 3 years old, had an experienced crew, and had just passed its relevant certificate of airworthiness, came down some 2 minutes out of Tehran airport on a flight to the Ukraine, and would seem to have exploded in the air, spreading really quite mangled debris in fairly small pieces over quite a large area just outside Tehran, just before entering the airspace of the next city to the northwest en route. And I felt yesterday that this was more than a little suspicious. Today, my suspicions were to some extent confirmed. Firstly, because Iran is not handing over the black box from the plane. for analysis by Boeing. That, to some extent, I can understand, but I would suggest to Iran that the safest pair of hands to handle this would be the British authorities, and we can manage and cooperate with Iran and would be pleased to do so, aiding the Ukraine in arriving at a decision as to what happened to this plane. Even if it was, as I suspected when I first heard of it, a tragically unfortunate example of Iran blue on blue. Somebody in the heat of the moment, in fear for the city being under attack from America in retaliation to the rockets that had been fired shortly before, believing this to be an attack plane or rocket, has loosed ground-to-air defense that has brought the plane down. It is hard to think of any other reasonable explanation, particularly as the aircrew on board did not make any kind of mayday call, which would imply that it was a sudden incident, seen in film to be literally a fireball going down.
And the ramifications of this?
In a situation of potential warfare, these accidents do happen. There is frequently a very much higher rate of blue on blue, as it's called, accidents that lead to frequently appalling deaths for numerous people within the most sophisticated of military situations. They happen to American troops, they happen to British troops, they happen to the most battle-trained, battle-hardy troops in the world.
Okay, Greg, thank you for that. Right, Harry and Meghan, what's going on?
Well, we heard all of a sudden yesterday evening, almost as out of the blue as it can be, and almost as out of the blue as it would appear to have been presented to Her Majesty the Queen, who we are told first heard of this announcement by the Duke and Duchess, Prince Harry and his wife Meghan, that they wished, nay, not even wished, were withdrawing from frontline royal duties. It is understood that the Queen first heard this on a television news broadcast. I personally think that, much like Trump's understandable and difficult decision that he made the right decision in the wrong way, Harry and Meghan have done likewise. They have made the right decision for themselves, but have done it very much in the wrong way. They were well aware from the status of Harry, who has grown up in the royal family with the wealth and the privilege, the defense and the duties of a full member of the royal family. He cannot have been unaware of the stresses of that situation. A situation, although he lurched through periods of misspent youth, shall we say, nightclubs on school nights and imbibing a little too much, and all the follies of youth laid rather bare, he went on to very responsible acquittal of his duty in the armed services with 2 full tours in the front line with the British Army in Afghanistan, and he then, after that, moved into the games for injured and chronically injured military personnel, giving rise to an alternative Olympics, which was seen as a very great contribution. He must have known, and he now quotes just how strongly he knew and felt the intrusion of the media in this role, an intrusion which is a part of the privilege of the role, when he met Meghan Markle, the American who was an actress best known for her role in the TV series Suits. and quite rapidly became engaged. She, as a professional actress with a frontline position and a divorce behind her, must have been aware of the publicity that was going to surround her if she was to continue her relationship with Harry. She actually admits she did. She now says she naively ignored the advice of friends in the US and Canada where she lived, that she would have extreme difficulty with the intrusive nature of the British red tops and the available gutter press, exposing her to the limelight continuously.
Greg, sorry, this is going on far too long. Listen, this is all hogwash. The woman is an actress, he is a prince. They know in those roles they will have unadulterated media attention at all times. Why should we, the British people, who are paying considerable sums of money for the royal family, why should we really just accept the fact that they are so hard done by, these people who up until now have done nothing but crave the media and been paid handsomely for it?
I totally agree with you. That was where I was moving to now say that without even consulting other members of the royal family, they have come back from a 6-week holiday. Few of us have that privilege of a 6-week holiday in North America, and have arbitrarily announced that they do not intend to continue with a frontline position in the royal family and wish to seek out an alternate role where they earn their own income. If that is the case, it is very surprising to note that the main details of their announcement can be found on a website that they have set up called sussexroyal.com, where in 19 words on the front page of the website, twice it states Duke and Duchess of Sussex, which does seem a little bit superfluous. They seem to be making the very most of their royal status, just as they are denouncing it. It is interesting also to notice that the copyright is held by Sussex Royal, a company presumably that they have set up as part of their commercial operation to live on income they themselves generate. And we also saw how unsuccessful the royal family can be at doing this with the efforts of Wessex, who, together with his wife, well, firstly, when he absconded from his duty as a Royal Marine, in a manner that, had it been thee or me, would have meant that we would have been charged with absent without leave and desertion, yet being a prince of the royal household, he was able to merely quit. And it was then decided they would set up on a commercial basis, he and his wife, which proved a total embarrassment to the royal family. Most of the things he touched were an unmitigated disaster and particularly ill-advised. And in that Harry and Meghan have seemingly decided to take the same course and all but abandon the royal family, or thus they have announced, it is worth looking up the company that has made their website for them. They've commissioned to, and I presume host it, a company called Made by Article, Article, which you can look up on the internet. And it is basically handling accounts for marketing companies, retailers, and celeb. Is this really the role that suits the royal family? If they couldn't manage to stick the job because they lacked the competence, then surely they must realize that commercial enterprise is not for them as wealthy members of the royal family, and they may follow in the footsteps of the Queen's uncle, the Windsors, who married a divorced American woman and left Britain. And one can see very clearly from the track record thereafter, led a confused and unhappy life.
Greg, I'm going to pick on you now. What the Dickens difference does all this make to our readers and listeners? Why should they really care?
Why should they really care? Partially because we fund the royal family in many ways, partially because this was a key member of that royal family who was part of the working team, partly because this leaves the royal family in a difficult position at the end of what the Queen called a difficult year, with one of her sons involved with Jeffrey Epstein. It undermines a very big earner in the British economy in a year which needs all the help it can get. I believe their action has been foolish, selfish, and ill-considered. Why does it affect any of us? Because it's in the news, because it has been topping every single broadcast ever since the announcement, that it has been the main topic of discussion programs, and because the more we know about it, the more informed can be our opinion.
Well, Greg, if I tail this sort of debate now with what I think is perhaps more important as far as our listeners are concerned, is, of course, the Bank of England Governor Mark Carney saying today that the central bank would cut interest rates if it looks like weakness in the economy will continue. Now, bearing in mind that we were all stating post-Brexit or post the general election, which would now lead to Brexit, that the pound will strengthen and claw back most, if not all, of its previous weakness. And now Carney has gone out and said, I may very well cut interest rates, or my successor may cut interest rates in the near future, thus causing the pound now to slide a couple cents against the dollar, 2-week low against the dollar.
I agree with you. This is important, but let us not forget, Mark Carney has been wrong on almost every prediction he's made.
I see. Well, I shall end this broadcast on that note. Greg,
good night all.
Thank you very much. We hope you have found this video interesting and informative. And if so, please give it a thumbs up and share it on social media. Please ensure that you have subscribed to our channel and press the bell sign so that you are notified of any future videos. Also, kindly visit our website at illuminatisilver.com, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe either as a free or paying member for regular email updates and offers. Disclaimer: Illuminati Silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice and merely represent the personal views of its owners.